Have you ever felt like life is just a series of falls? Like every time you finally get back on your feet, something or someone pushes you right back down? Today, I want to tell you a story about a man named Silas. He wasn't a hero and he wasn't lucky. He was just a man who lost everything except one thing: the will to stand up one more time. Because sometimes the greatest victory isn't in never falling, it's in becoming the person who refuses to stay down. Silas lived in a small, dusty town where hope was hard to come by. He grew up watching his father work himself to the bone just to keep a roof over their heads. Before his father passed away, Silas made a promise: "I will build something that lasts. I will make our name mean something." Silas wasn't a dreamer, he was a worker. He spent 10 years working in the heat of a coal mine, saving every cent. His goal was to open a small transport business. He wanted to buy a fleet of trucks to connect his isolated town to the big city. By the time he was 30, he had saved enough to buy his first 2 trucks. He called his company the Upward Road. For the first year, life was perfect. He was finally keeping his promise. He was standing tall. But life has a way of testing the ground we stand on. Just as Silas was preparing to buy his 3rd truck, a massive economic crisis hit. Fuel prices tripled overnight. Contracts were canceled. Within 6 months, Silas went from a business owner to a man who couldn't afford bread. He lost the trucks, he lost his small office, he was back to zero. His friends told him, "Silas, you tried, but look at the world. It's not your fault. Just go back to the mines. It's steady money." Silas felt the sting of failure. It's a cold feeling that settles in your bones. But as he looked at the empty space where his trucks used to be, he didn't see a dead end. He realized he had relied too much on one industry. He didn't go back to the mines. Instead, he took a job cleaning those very same trucks for the new owners. He was the man who used to own the company, now scrubbing the tires. People whispered behind his back, but Silas didn't care. He was standing up, even if he had to start from the bottom. 5 years later, through sheer grit, Silas had rebuilt. He didn't have trucks this time. He had a successful logistics warehouse. He was back on his feet, stronger and more cautious than before. But then the second fall came, and this one didn't care about his bank account. Silas was involved in a terrible accident at the warehouse. A heavy crate fell, crushing his legs. The doctors were blunt. "You'll be lucky if you ever walk without a cane, Silas. Working the floor, that part of your life is over." This fall was different. It wasn't about money. It was about his identity. Who was Silas if he couldn't work? He spent months in a hospital bed, staring at the ceiling. He felt like a broken tool tossed in the scrap heap. He fell into a deep, dark depression. He stopped talking. He felt like the universe was telling him, "Stay down, Silas. You weren't meant to be great." One day, an old man in the bed next to him said something that changed everything. He said, "Son, the floor is very crowded. That's why there's so much room up here for those who stand." Silas realized that while his legs were broken, his mind was still his own. He started studying logistics from his hospital bed. He learned how to manage systems, not just crates. He learned to lead with his brain because he could no longer lead with his back. He stood up again, this time with a cane in his hand and a much sharper mind. Years passed. Silas was now a respected consultant. He was wealthy, but more importantly, he was a mentor to others. Then the final test arrived. A massive fire broke out in the city district. Everything, his records, his legacy, the physical proof of his hard work, was turned to ash in a single night. At 60 years old, Silas stood across the street, leaning on his cane, watching his life's work go up in flames.
A young reporter approached him. "Sir, I'm so sorry. You've lost everything. What are you going to do now?"
The reporter expected tears. She expected him to collapse. Silas turned to her. His eyes weren't red from crying. They were reflecting the fire. He smiled, a small, tired, but unbreakable smile. "I haven't lost everything," Silas said quietly. "The fire can take the wood and the paper, but it can't take the man who knows how to build it all back." He didn't wait for the fire to cool. That very night, he sat in a small coffee shop with a napkin and a pen, and he started drawing the plans for his next project. Silas's life wasn't a story of constant success. It was a story of constant falling. But the reason we remember Silas today isn't because of the money or the warehouse. We remember him because he turned getting up into an art form. Life is going to hit you. That is a promise. It will hit you when you're down, and it will hit you when you're finally happy. You will face moments where it feels like the weight of the world is resting on your chest, making it hard to breathe. But I want you to remember Silas. When you fall, don't look at how far you've dropped. Look at the ground and say, you are only a temporary resting place. The only difference between a loser and a legend is that the legend got up one more time than they were knocked down. Do not let your failures define you. Let your response to failure define you. If you are struggling right now, if you feel like you've fallen too many times to count, take a deep breath. Feel the strength in your heart. That heart is still beating for a reason. It's time to stop mourning the fall. It's time to start planning the rise. Get up, not because it's easy, not because you're sure you'll win. Get up because you are a human being, and standing is what you were born to do. Thank you for being here today. If you've fallen recently, let this be your sign to stand back up. You have more strength in you than you know.